You are watching Xirtus.
Oh yeah, Walt Disney though. Freemason, Rosicrucian. What do you think? I
Well,
mean,
de Molay. Let's be specific here.
you think he was
That's
only
just when he was a
Demolay?
that was
Yeah,
him
absolutely.
as a child, right? What's the
Yeah.
deal? So
De
he
Molay is like the Boy Scouts version of Freemasonry, and then you can be in it from I think age 12 to 21, but usually you would phase out around like 17, and then if you really cared about it, you would join like proper Freemasonry. But I think that Walt Disney got all he really needed because he wasn't just in De Molay. He grew up under the mentorship of Dad, like the original person that founded De Molay entirely. So it wasn't just like this group he was part of. He was there on the ground floor with the guy that started it all, the original Dad. And that's one of the things of De Molay is that you're instead of having a worshipful master, you basically call your mentors Dad. And Walt Disney had this really weird relationship with his own father. In fact, the FBI told him that his dad wasn't real and he was like an orphan, like he was the ultimate princess. But this guy in De Molay ends up becoming his dad in many different ways. And I think as soon as he leaves De Molay and he goes out into the world, he's already got Freemasonic principles baked into his head. But as far as I know, he was never had joined the Freemasons
no,
proper.
he had fraternal training, I guess is what you're saying. That's interesting.
As a kid, yeah.
Yeah, he was conditioned for fraternal type
And absolutely did
dynamics.
rituals, did all the things, but just not
Right.
like the
Well,
exact.
that's what Boy Scouts is anyway. Like Boy Scouts is loaded with Freemasonic symbolism. If that whole Scouts honor and like I've been into, I think Andreas probably has too. You've been to Cutter,
Oh
the
yeah.
lodge at Cutter. So like there's like a old Boy Scouts lodge, and you can see checkered floors. You look around the room, all the different knots and whatever, but there's this very fraternal vibe to the whole space. And you can kind of, it would make sense because Freemasons build houses. Boy Scouts, how do you survive without a house? Like, what are the basics to survive? Like, you build a tent, it's like the earliest starting point
We
for
did a lot of
Freemasonry.
our level raisings essentially, with
Mhm.
the lights out with only candles. I remember that, and I was like,
Mhm.
that's kind of weird. Like, it seemed like a weird kind of Masonic church thing. But I don't know. I mean, that's kind of cool. Like I was thinking about this too because someone was asking me what denim was. Like, what is denim? And like denim is a weaving pattern. And like, but is it cotton? Like it's Egyptian cotton in a weaving pattern, but you could weave other things that way because denim is this ancient Egyptian priest textile. And it makes sense that Levi Strauss and people
Mhm.
that brought it from, and the word jeans even is from Genoa, because like people are like, oh, that's the fabric, the textile that they had in Genoa. So that it's even indigo, the color of the Egyptian and the rabbinical priests, and it's put on every kid in America. That's amazing, right? Like you basically make an entire class of people that are given, like even as children, of just
Right.
anybody, any race, creed, color, under the Noahide, they're all given this indigo denim, and that's
Is that why everything was Babylon? Like, because Babylon was so known for its textile fabrics, like that was the whole deal, and the dyeing of fabrics and having all these different colors that people hadn't even seen in nature and stuff, and it's just like that's part of the mythos around Babylon and the hanging gardens and all of that. But yeah, that's interesting. Is that worm too, which is totally connected to Dune. You know that worm that they like
which one?
for well, if you look at like Persian rugs or there's a certain kind of dye that they get from this bug that's like this is very crimson, special crimson red. And sometimes I mean you can still get like a nice rug like that's red, like it'll
No,
still
really,
be made from it. Yeah.
it's called Kermes, like
Yeah.
Hermes. Wow. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
and this is where they
And
get that color. Interesting.
totally. Yeah, and yeah, so that's the thing is it's that it's complicated, but Israel is referred to as a worm in different parts of the Tanakh or just the Torah, I forget, but this idea that like Jacob is referred to as a worm, and it's this idea of something that's so small and in really doesn't have that much influence at the time in which it's speaking to, but like with Dune they're like flash forward into the future in a biblical context, and this worm that's so inconsequential becomes like it is the spice, like it controls everything, you know. But yeah, there's a whole gematria, very meaningful set of communications around the worm from a Hebrew. I wouldn't do it all justice, but I'm pretty sure that this is where Frank Herbert got the idea is actually from the Bible.
What do you guys think about Dune? Do you like the movie and the book?
I haven't even seen the new ones.
Oh, really?
Really?
I'm way behind. I've heard they're amazing, but I haven't seen them yet.
They're a little slow. I actually prefer the old ones. We could even just talk about them. I don't know. The old ones? I think.
What about the William Hurt one? What about the made-for-TV series one, where it's like, if there's any one of them that I was going to play with the Spice World soundtrack, I think it would be that one. It wouldn't be Lynch.
Just to bring it full circle too. I mean, Beetlejuice, the original one, ends as Dune, right? Which is like, and it coexists in the same world as, what was it, like Tremors? So it's like Tremors, Dune, Beetlejuice, and I've even heard Footloose. Like Footloose actually can fit into that same sort of area.
Tell me how. I'm interested.
How does Footloose fit into it?
Because Kevin Bacon gets into Tremors, so he left the town. Obviously,
exactly. Not only the degrees of Kevin Bacon, but there's also a sync between the Beetlejuice and the Footloose time periods.
And then the Face movie where he like
and that Olivia, like her entire way of showing that she's overcome her entire hero's journey is that she dances at the end. And that it like she like the ghosts are preventing her, the spirits are preventing her from being able to do the dance that she really wants to do. And that's how it ends, right? Like that's the big payoff.
Right, but the thing is like Footloose is like it's almost like a Clockwork Orange in a way, in terms of that it's like a warning about like what will act like the way things can actually be. Like I didn't realize this when I was young and I watched Footloose, like how like this literally happened. Like that was how I found out about Biden for the first time, was when he had the rave act, and he was literally like, we know where these dance parties are happening. They're happening at warehouses. They're happening in the desert. We're going to freaking prosecute the, what was it? Where he's talking about the promoter. What did he say? Do you know what I'm talking about? When he was like, he's gonna go after the promoters and like put him in prison. And I was like, rave promoters? I was like, he's literally the old guy in Footloose. It's actually happening. That was the first time I ever heard of that guy. And then I was like, wait, he wants to be vice president? I was like, that's to let the old rich people in the country know, oh, it's okay. You can have a black president, but this guy with the rave act, come on, man.
Well, the other strong tie here, just so it doesn't seem like it's flippant, the other strong tie of Footloose is directly with Tremors, and it's not just the Kevin Bacon connection, but why are they not allowed to dance?
Yeah, it's Anabaptism. Exactly.
Yeah.
You'll trigger the graboids. The graboids will feel the vibrations, and now all of a sudden they're coming up. The sandworms are coming up, so that's why they can't dance.
And even further,
they don't tell anyone. It's like village rules.
And even
those underground Lithgows.
They're Anabaptist religious, which is a kind of pseudo-Mennonite culture. So they're they're anti-progressive Atlanticism, which led to the technology like Montauk projects that would have made and genetically modified worms. So that's why. So it's like a Rumspringa. It's like a Rumspringa movie. So if you're Amish and you get out and they make you have like a couple years there, first thing you do is see that movie so you don't take any meth.
Ooh. Oh, so it's an after-school special too, in a way.
Yeah, because you're like, look, if you're from Footloose, Footloose is really for people to understand, like for people who aren't Amish to understand Amish people, because they're like dancing. But
yeah, that wasn't Witness, was it?
But the Amish kid, he'll get Tremors, because Tremors is what happens to you when you leave your town, and this is what's obviously happening. I'm seeing it in the Midwest. Hey, Kurt, you're living near Amish people. How do you think Amish people feel when they hear like about quarantine? You know, and they're like, wow, there's like a big plague that's spreading in the clouds in the English countryside. Interesting. Right?
I imagine I don't think they care too much, to be honest. Like, I mean, they know what's going on in the world for sure. They have, they work quite a lot. Like,
if I was Amish and I heard about AIDS and like COVID, I would probably stay Amish.
They got it from homing pigeons, though, right? Like the pigeons, they tell them what's going on. They get from I don't know how they get that.
They have a Mennonite community always connected, right? Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, okay.
Amish genetics, I'm not sure what to make of them. Like, sometimes you do get communities that you think they might be high risk because it's sometimes genetic diversity isn't the greatest in some communities, but then you see some families that where it looks like the cult just works out amazing. You know, they have big happy families. They're like, oh, we're not part of, you know, the capitalist serfdom, you know, and they're totally fine and happy, and everybody's just, it's great because, you know, I've taken these people on tours, and it's just like sometimes it is like a really good time. They all have different personalities though, so like yeah, sometimes it depends on who you get. Sometimes it's the most boring thing ever. Sometimes it can be really, really exciting because, you know, they're just vibing. But so as far as like what they would think about sickness, I think a default setting in their minds is like, well, the outer world is kind of evil. It's super superficial, whatever. So I think the predominating thought was like, well, that, you know, the whole world's getting sick, whatever. That's probably just their problem. They probably had their issues with COVID, but a lot of people in Amish communities are in pretty good shape, like they have to be because of like their working regimen. So I don't think their death rates were nearly quite so bad as the rest of society.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I think they're fine, actually. I